Eddie really did not get along.
In real life?
In real life.
I did not know this.
Yeah. Like we didn't get. But every single week before taping, we'd come together, we'd put our hands together, we'd bow, and we'd pray before we go out there.
Malcolm-Jamal Warner, dead at the age of 54 on a drowning accident while he was vacationing with his family.
All right, now to, I think, something that surprised all of us when we saw it pop up. A stunning death of actor Malcolm-Jamal Warner, who rose to fame. You know that face. He still looks exactly like Theo Huxtable on The Cosby Show.
Two men stood side by side, not because they liked each other, but because they had no choice. Malcolm-Jamal Warner and Eddie Griffin were castmates. But more than that, they were reluctant allies in a battle most people didn't even know was happening. While the cameras rolled on their sitcom, Malcolm and Eddie, a much more dangerous script was playing out behind the scenes.
Systematic effort to destroy every black male entertainer's image. They want us all to have an actress by now.
One where silence meant survival and resistance came at a price. They were supposed to be just entertainers. That's what the industry wanted. Two black men playing it safe, cracking jokes, keeping things light. But Eddie Griffin saw the game early. He said it flat out. There's a systematic effort to break black men in Hollywood, not just in reputation, but in identity. And Malcolm? He didn't speak out at first. He played the role, stayed composed, and walked the tightrope until something changed.
News: the stunning death of actor Malcolm-Jamal Warner, known by millions of Americans who watched The Cosby Show, of course. He played Theo Huxtable.
On July 20th, 2025, a world was told that Malcolm-Jamal Warner had drowned in Costa Rica. The headlines called it a tragedy, accident. But Eddie Griffin's reaction wasn't a sanitized RIP. It was something else. He called Malcolm a warrior. He said they went to war against the Hollywood machine. That's not showbiz talk. That's battlefield language.
But freedom has its limits, so here we are, tear-streaked and salt-stained faces. Traces of trauma and pain lace our DNA like our black pride is cut and laced with self-hate.
And it raised one question that hasn't gone away since. What war were they fighting, and who really won? Because if Eddie's been right all along, then Malcolm's death wasn't just a tragedy, it was a message. When Malcolm and Eddie first aired, audiences saw two comedians delivering laughs, but behind the scenes, it was anything but lighthearted. Malcolm-Jamal Warner and Eddie Griffin believed they were stepping into a rare opportunity, a chance to create a sitcom that showed authentic, uplifting images of Black life. But what they walked into was a battlefield disguised as a TV set.
Whatever happened to integrity, man, huh? How many brothers got?
Every script was a negotiation. Every scene was a fight. The writers wanted buffoonery, stereotypes, and predictable comedy. Malcolm wanted dignity. Eddie demanded truth. But Hall wasn't interested in truth. It wanted control. Malcolm once described it as going from a top university to junior college. That wasn't just shade. It was a coded way of saying the work they were being asked to do was beneath them, insulting even.
So it was, for me, it was like going from a top university to junior college. Because I'm saying, look, we can actually be funny without doing the stereotypical stuff. And no one was really interested in that route. They're like, we didn't bring you over here for that. This is what we do.
The goal had been clear. Hit 100 episodes and secure syndication, what insiders call the key to generational wealth. But the show was abruptly cut at 88 episodes, just 12 short. Why? Malcolm said it plainly. The network got tired of him clashing with writers and tired of Eddie's unpredictable energy. But the truth ran deeper. They weren't fired for underperforming. They were cut because they refused to play the roles written for them. Roles that demeaned, diminished, and stripped away complexity.
Even though we were at odds, what we both understood is we get to 100 episodes, we're going to have a sweet vacation. Ultimately, they cut us at 88. Because they were tired. They were tired of me fighting with the writers, and then they were tired of Eddie's shenanigans.
What started as a sitcom turned into a power struggle, one where Malcolm and Eddie realized they were not being asked to act. They were being asked to comply. And when they didn't, the system made sure to remind them who really held the P. Eddie Griffin saw it coming before most people even knew there was a pattern. He wasn't ranting, he was reading the blueprint. Hollywood, he claimed, doesn't just break black men accidentally. It does it by design. It starts with a smile and ends with humiliation.
Reason number one, why they came after Bill Cosby.
If a black man does something, it says, John Jones, blacklist, said black, black, black. Now, if a white man does it, it isn't white man Jones, it's just a man.
The game is psychological, and the rules are simple. If you're a black man in entertainment, you play along or you pay the price. One of Eddie's loudest warnings was about forced emasculation. Not just figuratively, literally. Why is it, he asked, that every major black male actor ends up in a dress? Tyler Perry, Martin Lawrence, Jamie Foxx, even Kevin Hart. It wasn't just comedy, he argued. It was conditioning. Break down their masculinity. Make them perform degradation. Then hand them a check and call it success. And it didn't stop there. The deeper message was clear. The industry rewards obedience, not originality.
For shade. And aren't you tired of being hustled and played? And aren't we all tired of crying about how hard it is to be black in America, even if it looks like we've got it made? But freedom has its limits, so...
Speak too loud, push too hard, or step out of line, and you become a target. Eddie watched it happen and over again. The bigger the platform, the louder the voice, the quicker the takedown. The strategy wasn't hidden, it was systematic. And for Eddie, the most chilling part was that it didn't matter if you played the game perfectly. The house always wins. He once said, "They want us all to have an asterisk by our name. Scandal, rumor, allegation, anything to stain the legacy. Because in this system, it's not enough to strip you of power. They want to make sure no one else follows your path." And Malcolm, he started realizing it too, just a little too late. Long before the headlines exploded, Eddie Griffin was already talking about Bill Cosby, not to defend him, but to decode what was happening. He warned that no black entertainer, no matter how beloved or successful, gets to leave Hollywood clean. And when Cosby attempted to do the unthinkable, buy NBC, the very network that made him a household name, the machine kicked into gear. Eddie questioned everything, not the existence, allegations, but the timing. Why now? Why did decades-old accusations suddenly resurface when Cosby was regaining control over his legacy? Why wait 30 years to speak out, right when he posed the greatest threat to the status quo? Eddie's point wasn't about guilt or innocence. It was about strategy, a pattern, a well-timed playbook meant to maximize damage and minimize recovery. He called out the hypocrisy in media language. When a white celebrity falls, it's a troubled actor. When a black celebrity faces the same scandal, it's another black man in trouble. The narrative shifts from individual failing to racial stereotype. The press doesn't just report on the fall, they amplify it. The humiliation becomes cultural, collective, and that's not journalism, it's psychological warfare. Cosby's downfall wasn't isolated. Eddie connected the dots. Michael Jackson, Kobe Bryant, even Michael Jordan during certain key moments. Every time a black man in power tried to control his own image, machine launched a counterattack. And for Malcolm, the warning signs were already in place. He had spent years walking that same tightrope, but once he stepped off, once he started talking truth instead of playing it safe, he was no longer protected. The next move was predictable, because it's always the same. For most of his career, Malcolm-Jamal Warner was careful, measured. He knew how to navigate Hollywood without rocking the boat too hard. He picked his battles, spoke thoughtfully, and avoided controversy. But something changed in his final year. The man once known as America's favorite TV son stopped holding back and started speaking out. His Instagram became a battleground. No more poetic metaphors or soft reflections. His words turned sharp, urgent. "I'm tired of running for shade," he wrote. "And aren't you tired of being hustled and played?" These weren't random musings. They were warnings, coded messages for those who knew how to listen. Malcolm was calling out the entertainment industry, the media, and the culture that profits from broken identities and false narratives. He attacked the content being fed to Black audiences, the music, the imagery, the glorification of trauma. He spoke about systematic programming, how the media conditions people to accept pain as normal, dysfunction as culture, and silence as survival. He wasn't just making noise. He was connecting dots, naming names, and exposing methods. What made it even more dangerous was Malcolm's credibility. He wasn't a fringe voice, shouting from the sidelines. He was Theo Huxtable, respected, loved, and trusted across generations. That gave him power. And the machine? It doesn't tolerate threats to its control. Malcolm wasn't spiraling. He was waking up. And when he did, he broke the unspoken rule that's protected others. Never tell the truth too clearly. He told it anyway. And the machine took notice. On July 20th, 2025, news broke that Malcolm-Jamal Warner had drowned while vacay. In Costa Rica, the official report called it an accidental drowning. No foul play, no witnesses, no real answers. Just another tragic loss. But for those paying attention, especially those who'd been listening to Eddie Griffin for years, the timing didn't feel tragic. It felt scripted. 3 days before his death, Malcolm posted a video that now reads like a farewell. Smiling through exhaustion, he said, "Life is out here lifing," and reminded everyone to find a reason to smile. But beneath the positivity was something deeper. A man wrestling with forces beyond his control, trying to project light, while clearly carrying a heavy shadow. He promised he'd be back soon. He wasn't. Eddie Griffin didn't wait to mourn. His tribute came fast, raw, and full of coded language. He called Malcolm a warrior, said they went to war against the Hollywood machine, not worked together, not shared the screen. They fought against something larger than both of them. Eddie's words weren't a eulogy. They were a signal. And this isn't the first time the script has played out this way. When image assassination doesn't work and blacklisting fails to silence a voice, the machine escalates. Eddie warned us. He'd been warning us for years. The price for defiance isn't just your career. It can be your life. So when Malcolm's body was pulled from those waters, it didn't feel like an accident. It felt like the final act in a story written long ago. One where the outcome was already decided the moment he stopped playing his part. Malcolm-Jamal Warner's death didn't happen in isolation. It followed a pattern, a long, disturbing chain of Black entertainers who died just as they were reclaiming power. Michael Jackson passed while preparing for a comeback that would have granted him full control of his music. Prince died during his fight to regain ownership of his masters. Whitney Houston's death came right as the industry was preparing to profit off her comeback story. Each of these had one thing in common. They were finally taking control of their image, their message, their legacy. And right when they became most dangerous to the system, tragedy struck. The timing, always suspicious. The narrative, always tragic but clean. No real answers, just loss. Now add Malcolm to that list. A man who had never been touched by scandal. A man who became too credible, too vocal, too conscious. His death wasn't messy. It was convenient. Because when you're too clean to smear, the only thing left is to silence you completely. To understand Malcolm-Jamal Warner's final transformation, you have to go back to the woman who shaped his soul, Michelle Thomas. She wasn't just a co-star. She was his anchor, his compass, and his greatest loss. Their 5-year relationship was built on something rare in Hollywood: integrity. Michelle refused to play degrading roles. She protected her values in an industry designed to strip them away. When cancer claimed her at just 28, Malcolm, her side, literally holding her as she took her last breath, that moment marked him forever. From that day on, every choice he made, every public word he spoke, was guided by one question: what would Michelle do? For 27 years, she was his silent guide, but in his final year, something shifted. He stopped filtering his voice. He stopped playing safe. And in doing so, he became exactly what Michelle had modeled: uncompromising, fearless, and spiritually untouchable. Her death shaped his purpose, and that purpose made him dangerous. When Eddie Griffin called Malcolm-Jamal Warner a warrior, it wasn't just a tribute, it was a confirmation, a coded nod to everything they'd endured, everything they fought, and everything Malcolm finally saw for himself. Eddie didn't mince words. He said they went to war with the Hollywood machine, and not everyone made it out. Eddie's reaction wasn't shock, it was recognition. He'd seen this ending before. He warned us about it. Malcolm didn't die low, broken. He died awake. And that's what made his death so unsettling. Because when someone like Malcolm, clean record, powerful voice, loved by millions, starts speaking truth and connecting dots, the system doesn't wait. And now, Eddie stands alone. Still vocal, still fighting, still alive, for now. But his message is clear. This wasn't just a death. It was a consequence. Because in Hollywood, when you stop playing the role they gave you, the curtain doesn't close. It gets pulled.